Welcome to the I Saved You, Now Do the Dishes podcast. I'm author and speaker Carrie Severson. In each episode, I'll share stories and tips from my experience with caregiving and advocacy through my husband's cancer journey. Hi, welcome back to I Saved You, Now Do the Dishes. Today's episode is all about donuts. My husband would work for donuts if he could. He has an addiction to donuts. I don't, really give him a hard time about it, considering he calls me a coffee, instead of a water buffalo, he calls me a coffee buffalo, because, I could easily drink a pot of coffee. It's always been that way ever since I was, in college. I have a journalism degree. I worked for the school paper. We were drinking coffee at 2 a.m. He loves donuts. So we're coming to the end of his 5th week of treatment. He's on long-term oxy, short-term oxy, gabapentin, magic mouthwash. He still does lidocaine, Tylenol, ibuprofen. His pain is a little bit better. And he's high all the time. He can't really talk, but he tries. And he's not audible. We still do charades. He still points and grunts. It's so funny. Every day of this experience feels like a year. But this day is Friday, the last day of his 5th week. It's in the middle of the night. I'm so tired. I'm trying to open up my eyes and I can't. My body is like, no. But I hear him wrestling, not, because he's in pain or he's throwing up mucus or there's blood. I hear his jacket and I hear car keys. And then I hear him say something about donuts. And I'm telling my body to open my eyeballs, like open your eyes. Something's happening here. But then the next thing I feel is Gavin in bed next to me. So eventually I wake up and I look at him and I'm like, you can't drive. And he's like, I want donuts. And I roll over and I go to bed. But then I don't know how much time passes, but I hear him make that drowning dinosaur sound that he made in the chemo bay the week before. Or maybe it was just a couple days before this happened. That noise will forever be imprinted on the cells of my body. And I had an immediate reaction to him making that sound again. When we were at the palliative care meeting a few days before, we were given Narcan, and she told me how to use it. She told me when to use it. She told me I would most likely have to use it because he was going to be on so many drugs. So when I hear him make that noise, this like unconscious, shallow breathing, drowning in his own mucus noise, I jumped out of bed, screamed, clapped really loud, and I was like, not today, Narcan. I turn on the lights and I run to the kitchen and I grab a protein shake and I grab some water. And I open up them both. I come back into the bedroom and I'm like, honey, I'll take you to get donuts if you sit up and drink some protein shake and some water. And Gavin nods his head, rolls over, sits up, grabs the roll of paper towels on his nightstand and spits up a ton of mucus. I'm standing there taking the paper towels. He takes a sip of, the tiniest sip of a protein shake, and he winces. And so he kind of waves me off so he can get out of bed. And he goes into the spare bathroom and he gets the shower going. He turns on the steam so he can start to do his protocol that he had. He was really serious about going to get donuts, which meant that he had to take pain drugs, drugs for his pain. And I wasn't going to leave unless he had a little bit of protein shake and some water in him. 20 minutes later, he comes out of the bathroom, ready to take gabapentin, ibuprofen, Tylenol, and he probably took a short-term oxy. He waits for all that to kick in. He takes like long drags of this protein shake. He's probably got half of it in and a little bit of water, not very much. Gives me 2 thumbs up and walks to the car in the garage. And I hadn't even had coffee yet. I mean, it's like 6 a.m. Friday. I'm sure the donut shop's open. So he falls asleep in the car. He's holding on to my leg. And I pull into the parking lot of, I think it's called Donutville. And Gavin starts to cough. And whenever he coughed, my skin prickled, my shoulders went up into my ears, because when he started coughing, he wouldn't stop. And the mucus and the blood and the scabs. And so he opens up the door. I hadn't even parked the car yet. The car was still rolling. He opens up the door, grabs the paper towels that I have in the car, and starts spitting up. Wobbles over to the dumpster, holding himself up against the dumpster. And I put the car in park, and I just sit there, both my hands on the steering wheel, looking straight ahead. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm sure this isn't the first time a 50-year-old dude has puked at the parking lot of Donutville. Just 2 Gen Xers out here puking. I'm sure somebody has done this before. So nothing to see here. Gratefully, no one drove by. And we didn't scar any kids with his nasty mucus coming up. And I'm sure he puked up a ton of blood. When he was done, he threw all the paper towels in the dumpster, walks over to the car, and he's like, let's go get donuts. And he said it really clear because he didn't have any mucus in his throat. I'm like, God, our life is so weird right now. But, that's what wives do, right? We support our husbands. After they're done puking, they need some donuts. It's what caregivers do. He would work for donuts. I've bribed him with donuts before. Years prior, I needed him to come home to deal with something. Like something broke in the house. I can't remember what it was. And he was running errands, and I was like, I will buy you donuts if you come home right now and fix this. It works. If he bought me a latte, I would do the same thing though. But so we go and I actually have a picture. He looked so high. I took a picture. I took a selfie. Here I am at Donutville. It's like 7 a.m. now, 6 a.m. something super early. Haven't had coffee. Haven't brushed my teeth. But I'm smiling, and we're at Donutville. Here's Gavin, and he's super high, and he can't even focus. He's got 2 thumbs up. But we got 6 donuts, and I got an egg sandwich, but he got all the things that he wanted, and we went back home. He's standing on the kitchen, next to the kitchen counter, and he's taking chunks, bites. He's eating. I'm watching him eat. I'm so excited. I scarf down my breakfast sandwich, make myself a cup of coffee, and he goes back to bed and he falls asleep. Later that day, I've got to get him up for radiation. Radiation was really late that day, and it was a very uneventful day. His pain was manageable. He had calories in. He finished the rest of his protein shake. I was really proud of him. He was feeling stronger. Later that day, he wanted to go for a walk. On good days, he could walk to the mailbox, which was 300 steps. On really good days, he could walk around the block, 900 steps. That day, he wanted to get out. He wanted to go somewhere other than the hospital. He's like, let's just go to Walmart. Let's just go walk around. So he did. He bandaged up his neck, wrapped it like Karate Kid, and we walked around Walmart really slowly. It took us an hour to walk the entire floor. Didn't buy a thing. People were looking at us left and right. It did something for his morale. And I always wanted to be supportive of that. That Saturday, the end of week 5, the weekends were always really bad because radiation compiles upon one another. And so you would think that having the break would be relieving, but it actually made everything, it wasn't. So on Saturday, he asked for a grilled cheese. He could take maybe 2 bites of it. And then finally said, okay, I'm ready for a feeding port. I'm ready for a feeding tube. He said it out of the blue. I didn't argue. I didn't say a thing because I was like, a baby bird. I was too afraid that if I moved too fast or if I said something or it was too loud, he would change his mind. So I was actually sitting on the couch when he said it. He couldn't get down his grilled cheese. I walked over to the computer, logged into his health portal, sent an email to his radiation team, the PA nurse, and his radiation nurse. And I'm like, okay, he's finally ready for a feeding tube. We need to get him in ASAP. And that's it. I didn't mention the fact that the GI department had called us already that week to say he couldn't be seen for 2 months. I wasn't going to go down this road again. I wasn't going to go through the GI department. I was going through the radiation department. I didn't know how. I didn't know where, but I was going to get him a feeding tube. You would think that somebody in such a dire need of something for nutrition, they would be like Johnny on the spot. Okay, come in, let's do this. But these things move really slowly. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made, a lot of schedules that have to be adjusted. There's nothing really fast that happens, even in the ER. I thought about taking him to the ER, but then I sat back on my heels and I was like, his radiation team are the primary medical decision makers here. He was getting chemo to support the radiation. The radiation team should be the ones that I'm working through. So we waited. He was able to get down some water. He did have to go back to the hospital that weekend for an IV infusion. He was able to get down a little bit more protein shake, but hardly anything. It was so interesting how fast he went downhill. On Friday, he had donuts. We took a walk around Walmart. Saturday, he couldn't eat. He was able to get something down on Sunday. And then on Monday, we met with the PA again, entering week 6. I'm going to save that meeting for the next podcast. It's a doozy. So, caregivers, if you're in a situation where you're needing to boost the morale of your loved one, think back to what they loved before this shit show started. Would they work for donuts? Would they appreciate a stroll around a big box store, window shopping, doing something normal? Get him out in some random adventure. It was a good day for him. And I didn't have to use Narcan. Any day you don't have to use Narcan is a good day. So next time I'll tell you about the PA meeting and how I ended up getting my husband a fucking feeding tube. Until then, caregivers, I love you. I'm thinking of you. Sending you a lot of good energy. And of course, remember, it's okay to have somebody else do the dishes.